Hello and welcome to the NFU's Shed Talks podcast. I'm Bizza Walters and as always I'm joined by my co-host Luke Cox.
It's lovely to see you again, Bizza. Coming up on today's podcast, we're joined by Milly Fyfe, who was recognised with an MBE in this year's King's Birthday Honours.
I mean, it came as a total surprise and, you know, I know other people that have had honours, obviously a lot later in their life. So for me, I sort of feel like I've only just arrived with a lot of the work that I've been doing. So to have that recognition, I think is, you know, pretty surreal still. I'm still taking it all in.
We hear from the Westminster team as a new farming minister is appointed.
It's obviously quite disorientating when ministers change during reshuffles, but we're used to this now, aren't we? And to give the minister his credit, he's engaged from the minute he stepped foot into DEFRA, stepped foot into the world's best and most important ministerial role as farming minister.
And we're joined by Erin Napier and Ben Andrews, who are advocates for the LGBTQ+ community in Pride Month.
You know, I'm getting to that age where a lot of my friends have got kids who are, you know, 16, 17, 18. And so just to everyone in the agriculture community that have got some young kids, just understand, you know, that they might have something that they want to tell you and to offer a really safe space to allow them to come to you with that and not hold it inside them, because the damage that can do by holding on to it.
Hello everyone, it's great to see you again, Bizza. There's so much to catch up on before we get into the podcast properly. But I guess we need to first start by talking about the announcement that came from Downing Street on Monday. Things do move fast in politics, don't they?
They do. It has been, I think, a very busy 48 hours for everybody probably in the UK since that announcement.
It has. So it's Wednesday morning at the moment. Things can change. But as we understand it today, Keir Starmer has said he's going to step down as leader of the Labour Party and therefore ultimately Prime Minister. They're going to have a leadership contest before summer, which should mean that they've got a new leader and a new Prime Minister by the time they come back from summer recess. At the moment, it looks like it could be a one-horse race, but who knows what will happen by the 9th of July when the nominations open. So lots to keep our eyes peeled for in Westminster.
Indeed. But moving on from that, Luke, tell me, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Yeah, really good. I mean, we spent plenty of time together over the last few weeks, haven't we, Bizza? We were at Farm Fest together where you were star of the show. Well,
I wouldn't go quite that far. But it was good fun. I really enjoyed it. It was great to be back at Stoneleigh and have everybody there enjoying the venue and celebrating all things British farming.
It was. And you were star of the show. You were presenting on the main stage, introducing all the acts. Didn't you introduce Sophie Ellis-Bextor?
I'm so modest and humble. I didn't want to mention it, Luke. But no, it was brilliant, and I met so many amazing people, and it was a fantastic experience, and it's all thanks to the Farm Fest team. So hopefully, same again next year, and we'll see lots and lots of people there.
Absolutely. And then we also saw each other at Cereals, the main arable event in the UK, normally over in the east of the country, but it was actually much more towards the west. It was at Jeremy Clarkson's Diddley Squat Farm this year. Really good location, a really good event.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. The weather was a bit questionable. The Wednesday was fine, wasn't it? But the Thursday, oh my gosh, what a washout.
Yeah, the Wednesday was fine. Just about safe enough for helicopter travel, wasn't it?
Oh, I knew you were going to bring this up. Yes, for a couple of us it was.
I don't quite get the same VIP treatment as my co-host, so I'm still waiting.
Well, I did have to travel by car on the Thursday, and actually the traffic wasn't too bad. I think we timed it well with the weather, so we choppered in. I say we, it was Martin Williams and Ollie Harrison and myself. They organised it, I just like to point out, and had a spare seat, so I was the very lucky person who was the third traveller, and we flew over Diddley Squat and watched everyone else, probably you included, queuing on the road. But then I was back to reality on the Thursday when I drove in.
Back to joining the rest of us in the car park.
Indeed.
And of course, before we get into the main podcast, there's so much sport on at the moment, Bizza. We're in the midst of the World Cup.
Is there?
Yeah, football's not your forte.
No,
but we are in the midst of the World Cup.
My dad is watching the matches. I think, was it Ghana, England last night?
Has he woken up from falling asleep during that one?
No, I've not seen him this morning, actually.
No, probably because it sent him to sleep. It was pretty terrible. But there's lots of good games and more to come. And Wimbledon's just round the corner as well. So for all the sports fans.
Which means strawberry season as well.
It is, absolutely. So much to do.
Well, lovely to catch up with you, Luke, but I think we should kick off into the podcast, and we're going to speak to Milly Fyfe now, who, as you mentioned, has been awarded an MBE in the King's Birthday Honours.
Milly, thank you for joining us. Can you just start by telling us a bit about your background and your no-fuss meals for busy parents business?
I'm not actually from a farming background, and I'm quite proud to say that. And that's probably part of how my career has really set me apart, because I grew up in the Cotswolds and joined Young Farmers when I was about age 14. So I grew up around the farming community. Joining Young Farmers was a huge revelation to me. I really found my tribe and quite quickly got involved with so many different things that Young Farmers has to offer, from competitions to public speaking to raising money for local good causes. And I met so many amazing people who are still my lifelong friends, people that I grew up with, and also people all around the country and all around the world. So it's an incredible network. And that's how I met my husband as well. So that it has a lot to answer for.
I think we can all say that Young Farmers has a lot to answer for in our lives on this podcast.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I took on various leadership roles within Young Farmers quite quickly, and in 2012, 2013 I was the chairman for the National Federation of Young Farmers, so representing around 25,000 young people across England and Wales. I also sat on the NFU Council actually for quite some time, so again I know whenever I go around the country and go to any agricultural show, I can bob into the NFU marquee, and I'm pretty sure they're going to know someone, not only from the connections within my day-to-day life and my business and all of the different things, but also from sitting on NFU Council as the YFC rep at the time, was quite instrumental in a lot of the work that I've done today. In answer to your original question about how, what is No Fuss Meals for Busy Parents, it did come about during the pandemic. So in 2020, my children were aged 2 and 1, and all of a sudden I couldn't go anywhere with them. So I couldn't go to any of the baby groups and have a social life. So I've always used social media as a tool for sharing information. And I just started documenting life on the farm, what we were doing, what we were growing, and sharing a few recipes as well, because I enjoy cooking. I'm just a home cook, and I just started sharing them. And quite quickly, lots of people who were all shut up and couldn't go to the supermarket or purchase food where they'd normally purchase food were contacting me and saying, "You've inspired me to get cooking with my children," or "I had no idea that grew in this country," or "I now have a better awareness of what's in the field that I'm walking past," because they just didn't. And from there, it really spiraled quite quickly into a blog and a podcast. So I'd start sharing more recipes, what was in season, and also interviewing a lot of other farmers that I know through the Young Farmers Network around the country about what they grow and produce, because I didn't want it to just be about what we were doing. It was about all around the country. And after interviewing them, that's where the podcast started, because, when you start chatting to people, everyone's got a really good story to tell. And I was like, right, I haven't got enough words on a piece of paper or on the computer. I want to actually get their story in audio form. So that's where the podcast came from. And then fast forward to 2023, I was very fortunate to be funded by the Farmers Club Charitable Trust to attend the Windsor Leadership course at Windsor Castle. And that was quite a pivotal moment for me, because I wanted to try and monetize what I was doing, but obviously it had so much social purpose. So it was kind of one of these things where it was a creative outlet, but I was self-funding it. And I sort of, with all the different positions, I came to the point where I was like, what do? I want to do something meaningful with all of this information, but I am struggling to make ends meet. And the group really helped me to sort of find my way with creating a community interest company, which isn't a registered charity, but it's not a business, it's a social enterprise. So it's kind of a new type of business. I think a social enterprise has only been in existence for about 20 years or something like that. So to a lot of people, it's quite a new terminology, I guess. But basically, we have charitable objectives and we're not for profit in our in the way that we operate. And I registered No Fuss Meals and Busy Parents as a CIC. And so we've been now in operation for 3 years. And we started off collaborating with other good work in the community with local food larders, helping them to prepare recipe cards, because a lot of surplus food from supermarkets goes to food larders, but the people that are accessing the food larders weren't picking up the fresh produce because they didn't know what to do with it. If it was processing in a packet and it had instructions, then they would pick it up. If it wasn't, then it would often get left. So I started creating a few recipe ideas and video tutorials and things like that.
All that you've done there has clearly been noticed and recognised, because you have very recently been awarded an MBE, haven't you, for your services to agriculture and
Yes.
food and education. Tell us about that. What was your reaction? How do you feel about it? What's the reaction from your audiences?
Yeah, so I mean, it came as a total surprise. And, you know, I know other people that have had honours, obviously, a lot later in their life. So for me, I sort of feel like I've only just arrived with a lot of the work that I've been doing. So to have that recognition, I think, is, you know, pretty surreal still. I'm still taking it all in. And it I had to keep it quiet for about 6 weeks, which was hard.
Then you announced it on social media, which is where I saw it. And I mean, no one more deserving than you. So huge congratulations, because you have done so much. And I suppose, what's next? What have you got planned next, or is it all top secret?
So off the back of receiving the honours, I've got a campaign that I'm circulating postcards at the moment, which are for consumers to pick up, and when they eat out at a restaurant or they go to a shop and they observe British produce being sold or supplied, that they can fill out a card and give it to the business owner as a way of saying thank you. But also farmers want to have those postcards as well. I think we feel as a farming industry, sometimes public don't necessarily, I know there's been all the surveys and they really do value us, but I think sometimes at farm level, we forget people are really behind us. But it's a nice way of being able to say thank you, and a visual way as well. And it's a campaign that the Women's Farm Union did a number of years ago. And actually a lady called Eunice Finney, who's up in Staffordshire, she contacted me and said, Milly, you're just the person to keep this going. So KWS kindly sponsored the first run of postcards. So I've got a number of these little A6 postcards, which I designed myself. And I'm just starting to drip feed those out. So if anyone would like them, please do get in touch with me.
It'd be really interesting to learn more about the Countryside Kitchen, I guess, and the importance of trying to reconnect the public with where their food comes from, which is obviously one of the key aims of bringing people onto farm, which is what you're doing now.
Everyone wanted to come, you know, they kept saying, we want to come to your farm. But people can't just wandered into a farm. And although we sort of toyed with the idea in doing like open farm Sundays and things, I wanted to do something a bit more regularly, and working with school groups and groups of vulnerable adults, and also groups recovering from addiction, and children and adults with special educational needs. So I attended the Leaf CVAS training funded by AHDB in January 2025. So that gave me my formal training for linking farm visits with the curriculum and making sure it was safe and what we needed in order to facilitate a 2-hour visit, for example. But we went quite a bit further than that, because I mean there's lots of farmers all across the country that do farm visits, but what I wanted to do was obviously link the farm with the food that people eat. So actually then coming into a kitchen and cooking something or preparing something, or just bringing that full field to fork journey. And so we repurposed a static caravan into a inclusive classroom in our farm orchards. So we bring 2 groups a week to field to fork workshops under the banner of Grow, Cook, Eat, Discover. So they have a walk around the farm, they meet cows, they meet sheep, they meet my goats, they meet the chickens. We also talk about the arable crops we grow. So we grow wheat and barley, and then we also grow grass for silage and hay. And we also sort of talk to them about all the different things that cows produce. So it's not only the meat or the milk, but also like leather. And I have jelly babies, so we talk about gelatine, and then we talk about tallow, and then we talk about what do we do with their poo, and things like that. So, and all of these sort of household items that they wouldn't necessarily think come from a cow, just to kind of bring all that learning to life.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Milly. It's been amazing to hear your story. And again, huge congratulations on your MBE. As we said earlier, very thoroughly deserved. And yeah, hopefully we can have you on again soon, hear what else you've been up to, because it's not like you're busy enough. But thank you so much. And yeah, I mean, people can follow you on social media, can't they? See what you're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. At the Countryside Kitchen, at Milly Fyfe as well, and at No Fuss Meals for Busy Parents. So you've got lots of different channels to find all of the information. So thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Milly.
Great to speak to you, Milly. Thank you. That was great to hear from Milly. It must have been such an honour when she received that letter saying that she'd been awarded an MBE. We are now moving on to our Westminster section, where we will hear from our team about the world of food and farming in politics.
Hello and welcome to this week's Westminster section of the podcast. You've got me, Niamh McGinty.
And me, Rory Hodges.
We got a new farmer minister. Rory, why have we got a new farmer minister?
Well, so the Prime Minister treated us to this news quite late on the Friday. I personally was in the pub and I got the notification on my phone from Guido Fawkes about new appointments, and then the first line was Angela Eagle, and I looked at it and I went, oh, okay, fantastic. So it came about because last Thursday, John Healey, who was the Defence Secretary, and Al Carnes, who was the Veterans Minister, they both resigned because they were unhappy with the amount of money that was going to be given to the armed forces as part of the Defence Improvement Plan. That created vacancies in those 2 seats, and then everyone in Westminster has decided to just do a little bit of musical chairs, and now they've all just moved positions. So Dan Jarvis, who was the Security Minister, he is now Defence Secretary, and Angela Eagle has moved into his former role. So she's now in the Home Office. So that meant that we didn't have a farming minister, and so Stephen Morgan, who is the MP for Portsmouth South, has stepped forward and is into the role. And so, I mean, it was a lot of work, particularly for Scott in our team, in getting him up to scratch and whatnot. But we did have him out on farm. So he went to Tom Bradshaw's farm on Thursday to learn about the issues that are impacting us. And it's obviously a very critical time. We've got a lot of things going on, I think you could safely say. And so it's just making sure that he was up to scratch and everything.
It's obviously quite disorientating when ministers change during reshuffles, but we're used to this now, aren't we? And to give the minister his credit, he's engaged from the minute he stepped foot into DEFRA, stepped foot into the world's best and most important ministerial role as farmer minister. But as we know, DEFRA obviously isn't the only government department who we engage with, and we cover a wide range of topics, which means we have a lot of different officials to lobby on different pieces of legislation. And one of those key bits of legislation at the minute is the police reform bill. And Rory, I know you're doing a bit of work on that, so what do we know about it?
I mean, crucially, the one thing I have to say is that the bill itself has not been published. But we do have a vague idea of what might be in it because the government published a white paper back in January on their intentions on police reform. They've put forward a proposal, and it will be the most radical or the most drastic change to policing that we've had in about 200 years, ever since modern policing was founded. And the Home Secretary set out a couple of reasons for doing this, but she basically said that policing's become too distant from communities, with people reporting that they'd never seen a police officer on the beat going up from 25% in 2010 to 54% as of last year. So she's identified that as a problem. She said as well that the way that we've organised our forces, we've got 43 of them. It's incoherent. It's too large. It's not an efficient use of resources. So she wants to change that. And she's also said that between 2010 and 2024, there was a sort of lack of national direction and standards, and there was what she's described as a loss of focus on holding the police to account for delivery. And she's basically said, and to quote, she said, policing has fallen behind the criminals. So she's put forward this proposal of what she wants to do with it exactly. And there are, a couple of things in it, really. They're going to drastically reduce the number of police forces, as I said, because they think there are too many of them, down from 43. There's going to be a new national police force established, kind of, I guess, like a gendarmerie that you'd have in France. But it's going to take your National Crime Agency, your counter-terrorism policing, and then just amalgamating them into one force so that they are going to be responsible for those areas. The idea behind it is that it will reduce pressure and resources on other police forces that happen to deal with this. There are going to be greater targets for accountability. So police forces are going to be expected to respond to phone calls within 15 minutes if they're in urban areas, 20 minutes if it's rural. And if it's a 999 call, you've got 10 minutes. So they're going to be stuff like that. The Home Secretary is going to have the power to fire people, to people who she thinks are underperforming, your police chiefs. So it is obviously a very substantial piece of legislation, and we're going to be getting our teeth sunk into it once it's published. We don't really know when that'll be. It isn't the gift of the government to decide when they want to put it forward, but it was included in the King's Speech, so we know that it's going to be coming in this session, so that'll be over either this year or next. But it is an important issue for us because a lot of NFU members are still impacted by rural crime. So the NFU Mutual Crime Report that came out at the beginning of this month said that it still costs about £41.5 million annually. And we've got a couple of issues that we've got with police reform. And we've said, if you're going to be doing this whole massive piece of change, you might as well just go the full hog and also do the changes to the funding formula because we're not very happy with it. So the funding formula that is used to determine how much each force gets, the data that it uses is very out of date. So the Home Office has repeated the 2013-14 pro rata distribution formula, and then historic versions of this used data from the 2001 census. So it's as old as dust. It's not accurate anymore, particularly when you consider that certain areas of the country have had greater population growth than others. So Northamptonshire, Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire, they've had population growth of up to and over 25%, whereas Cumbria, Merseyside, they've had around 6%. So it's not accurate in terms of where people are living anymore. But it also doesn't account for seasonal pressures. So say, for example, you're in Cornwall, you get a massive influx of visitors in the summer because people are going there for holidays. But that money that you get to police those people does not reflect that in any way, shape or form. So you get a massive influx of people and you're having to deal with the same amount of resources in terms of administering the police for that. So it's obviously not sufficient. The funding formula doesn't account for some of the pressures that are unique to rural crime. You've got very large geographical areas, and a lot of the crime now is increasingly organised. It's done by criminal gangs who will use the proceeds of this crime to fund national and international operations. So we just need to make sure that the money that is being given to our police forces is actually reflective of the challenges that they face and reflective of the populations that they have. So we're going to be lobbying for that. Like I said, if you're going to be doing this whole package of reform, I think it would be remiss of us not to start pushing for that as well. So that's something that we're going to be looking at. But the other element to it as well, this is a very drastic piece of reform. Like I said, it's the largest piece that we've had in about 200 years. In the white paper, the word rural is only mentioned once. And that is in the context of saying police officers must respond to your calls within 20 minutes, as I just said. So we need to make sure that when you have these new police forces that are amalgamated out of the existing ones, the focus on rural crime that certain forces have is not lost. So we need to make sure that if you have a new area that is very urban and it's got maybe, a sort of rural periphery around it, that the focus of those police aren't determined exclusively by the urban population. And so that they're not, like, the rural communities aren't just left by the wayside. So we need to make sure that there's direct accountability. We need to make sure that rural interests are considered throughout the entire planning process of police strategies. There are some changes that were made in a different piece of legislation last session, with the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill, which will now give the ability of mayors to appoint rural commissioners. So that should be helpful. We should have someone who's directly accountable for that, especially because the police and crime commissioners are going to be abolished. So we need to make sure that when the powers are going to the mayors, that someone is there, and someone is there from the beginning considering rural issues. But there is a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing on the police bill itself. I feel like I'm just completely rambled on for about 10 minutes, but there is a lot of stuff that we should be doing, but it will be dependent upon what the bill looks like when it is actually published.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Rory. It's like a really good overview, and I think as well a good reminder that the NFU doesn't just speak to DEFRA, we speak to every government department trying to highlight the challenges and opportunities for British farming. That's all we've got time for this week. Thanks very much for listening. As we know, things change in Westminster very, very quickly and at very little notice. So if you want to keep up to date with the most recent developments, check out the NFU website, or you can follow us on X at NFU Political.
As always, great to hear from the Westminster team, who hopefully in the next episode will be able to shed a bit more light on the Prime Minister and future leadership.
Now, we go to our chat with Ben Andrews, who many of you will know from AgRespect, and Erin Napier, a policy graduate at the NFU, who is part of the NFU's network for LGBTQ+ staff.
Ben, I just want to come to you because you've grown up obviously in the rural community, and how have you found that being part of the LGBTQ community? How was it growing up in farming?
I grew up in the 80s. I was born right at the beginning of the 80s. So there was a lot going on around then. So, you had Section 28 when it was banned to even talk about homosexuality or alternative lifestyles in schools. You had the AIDS epidemic, and there were no really out personalities in day-to-day life. So the only messaging you get from a very sheltered rural view is that it's bad, it's you're going to die early, and sort of like all this really negative messaging, which when you're like a little kid, I mean, like I knew for probably about 5 years old, and it's just like, all the boys are like, got a girlfriend, and like kids do, and it's just like, I'm not sure I want a girlfriend. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? When you sort of have that growing up, and then it's like, oh, right, yeah, this probably isn't the place for me, because do I just get married to a woman and just have kids and try and just like ignore it, or do I run away with a circus or something and move to somewhere that's because like I think once the internet came around, I mean, I was like 18, probably 17 or 18, in sixth form when we got the internet. And then suddenly it's like, there's like a whole world out there that I just had no idea existed. So yeah, there's just like, I think we really underestimate the importance role models can have in someone's upbringing. Looking back on it, it's pretty bleak place to be. Sometimes it can be easy to sugarcoat these things and make it seem like it is all great and happy and everything's sorted. But there is still some pretty serious levels of homophobia, transphobia, in the, not just in the, within the agriculture industry, but the population is in general. I like in the past it's sort of put a big divide in my family, and so there are some members of my family I still don't talk to because of it. But it's 100%. I would not have stayed in the closet just to keep those people happy, and by being myself, I feel so much better for it. And who knows what the repercussions would have been had I not come out when I did back when I was 19.
Yeah, and you talk about the role of internet, I guess, coming into that journey. These days, social media is hugely used across the world. What role has that played, do you think, in your experience, both positive and negative? I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I mean it's been incredible. I say personally, probably 95% positive. I'd say the 5% negative has just been the time lost on doom scrolling. But
that's
yeah,
for all of us. So.
yeah, exactly. But personally, I've not really had a huge amount of negative pushback apart from the odd bot or something that sort of appears in a comment section. The positive side, of course, is just that ability to connect people from all over the world just instantly. And farming's a pretty isolating job anyway. We're all doing our own things, sat on our own tractors. Might have some friends, a friend 5-10 miles down the road or something like that. But, it's not the sort of thing where you're constantly coming into contact with loads of different people every day. So to find people that you have a lot more in common with, and that the negative can be that you do then create echo chambers and that can become difficult. You sort of can learn you can forget to how to integrate with just general everyday society. But I think it is it's fantastic that ability to connect with people, and not just on the LGBTQ plus issues, but also just general farming day-to-day things, the stuff I've learned from watching other people and have conversations with people about, oh, have you tried this? No, I'm I might try that. Oh, great. Yeah. It's a fantastic tool when you use it correctly.
Yeah. And Erin, coming to you, as you mentioned, you are involved with the NFU LGBTQ plus network. Why was this set up? And I suppose what's it hoping to achieve? Because we've just heard from Ben, being a farmer in the industry, but we've got all these organisations that are also supporting it.
I'm a member of the LGBTQ plus community. And it was great to come into an organisation and see that there was a place for me, I suppose. I'm from a rural adjacent town, shall we say, and maybe had some prerequisites coming into it. So it was great to see that there was a place where I could feel myself, and it made me, proud to work for the NFU as well. The main point of the network group is to provide that space for colleagues and also to provide that peer-to-peer support. It's a place where if you have an issue regarding anything, it's a safe space to go to and talk about.
And the NFU attended a Pride event for the first time, didn't it, this year? Yeah,
so it was our first time at Pride. We went to Birmingham. Unfortunately, we were competing with Farmers Fest and May Bank Holiday. So we lost a few to holidays and everything. But 10 members of our group attended. And Abby Reader, our NFU Cymru president, was kind enough to donate Gloria, the fiberglass cow. For the parade. So I think the people of Birmingham really, really appreciated Gloria. We had flags and hands saying back British farming. And we also had Proud to Support Pride t-shirts with the NFU logo on. And appears we were really well received by the Burmese.
I think I saw
we're a very welcoming bunch, aren't we?
I saw a social media post from Abby that was explaining how she'd managed to get that cow to and from Birmingham, and it seemed like quite a mission. So fair play to Abby for making that happen. Ben and Erin, you both talked about the challenges of rural communities in particular, often quite isolating, often quite sometimes quite insular in the way they operate. How have you found sort of getting rural communities to fully understand the needs of the LGBTQ plus community, perhaps even more so than more urban areas that have had this messaging coming sort of from a lot earlier, I guess? One of the issues that's always that has perpetuated that is that because people in rural communities, LGBTQ plus people don't feel like that they necessarily have a place, or they need to go to a more urban centre to find more people that they have in common with, then you tend to get all those people moving away, and so into those towns and cities. So it keeps sort of perpetuating that lack of
connection with, between heterosexual people and LGBTQ plus people. So, that's why everyone, or a lot of people, like particularly, when I was growing up in rural communities, would have got all of their information from what they saw in sort of fictional representations on TV, in news reports. There weren't many people that they could say, it's like, oh yeah, I've actually met a gay woman and she's great. She's nothing like this demonic representation that's sort of coming across in the media. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges is for anything, whether it's racism, homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, that so much of it is built on preconceptions. And it's when you actually connect and communicate and you realize you've got a lot more in common than not. That's when you start to break down those barriers.
It's amazing how powerful just understanding other people is in all these issues, isn't it? Erin, I guess you've talked a bit about what the NFU has done so far. What can be done to improve understanding and respect?
Yeah, I think the respect comes from the understanding. I think they're not mutually exclusive at all. They feed into each other. And I would say from being at shows and everything, farmers as people or people from the rural community are genuinely inquisitive people and they want to learn and find out things. And I think when you're genuinely inquisitive about anything, whether Ben, you say racism or homophobia or anything, people will respond well. So I would say to get that understanding, people just need to be genuinely interested in learning more and sort of battling those preconceptions.
I was told that young people are particularly inquisitive, and the younger people are, the more sort of comfortable they are asking questions that older people might not do. So actually, when you're looking to engage with the next generation and make sure that the people coming through society understand these issues more, I guess it's a great opportunity to help these inquisitive people understand more about the world around them.
Yeah, there is something I noticed. So I was at Three Counties Show a couple of weeks back, and I was on a panel there talking about diversity and sort of inclusion in agriculture. And I'd sort of just walking around the show before the session, it sort of made me realise, how as farmers there's this, particularly amongst the young farmers, there's this very distinct uniform, isn't there, of what young farmers wear. And there's it was like the shuffle gilet, two-tone rugby shorts, and
it hasn't
boots.
Changed.
Yeah, and it's just, but it's like people want to belong, and people they wear these things because it's like a bit of a uniform, and it's like we're in this gang together, and I think that's whatever you're doing, people just want to feel part of the group. And I think when there's this concept of being part of a tribe, and humans are only really designed to recognize about 60 faces, and you've got your own little tribe, and then anyone outside that you're a bit suspicious of, and you're like, these are others. And so when there's that difference, it's they're a bit scary, but it's just like this thing that whoever you are in agriculture, you just want to feel part of that community.
You're involved in AgRespect, which is an organisation that is involved in the LGBTQ plus community within agriculture. Can you just tell us a bit more about it and what the organisation, I suppose, hopes to achieve?
Yeah, so it started up pushing towards 10 years ago now. So I got a phone call from a friend of mine, Matt Naylor, who big farmer over in Lincolnshire, and he'd seen this report on Countryfile about it's about the gay farmer helpline, and just about the number of phone calls that this chap, so Pastor Keith Innocent was getting from farmers who were really depressed, sort of verging on suicide, because they were leading these double lives of just not feeling like they could come out. And what struck us about it is that quite often the messaging was always quite negative, and it was in no way to do down or to diminish the experiences of these people. But if they didn't have any, again, role models or any examples of people who were out and were able to there was hope basically that it didn't have to be this sort of really secretive, sort of like repressed life that they were living, to be actually like to be able to be just themselves. So we started up the website. We got a few case studies on there of people who, all over the country who were farming and were like, we had the full spectrum of the LGBTQ plus community. And it was really took off, and we had loads of people getting in touch. I had loads of people messaging me on Instagram, and it's like, it's quite sad that even today there are still people who are like, I don't feel like I can come out. What do I do? And that can be anyone from sort of like people in their sort of early 20s up to their 60s. So it's obviously still something that's needed, but yeah, in terms of sort of where we take it from here, it doesn't really have a sort of a nucleus to it. It's this very sort of like, this disparate group of folk who it's a name that if anybody wants to go to a pride parade, it's like, you use the name, you can use the banners, you can, got a WhatsApp group, like 150 or so people on there. We'll do like meetups at like, whether it's cereals or groundswell or llama, depending on whether you like regenerative farming or just like kicking tractor tires or something like that. There's something in there for everyone. So, we don't really have an end goal for it. Don't really know which direction to take it. Cause you go down the sort of formalizing it into a charity sort of thing. And then you need like constitutions and all that. So yeah, but where we are at the moment, it's just carrying on, just trying to put the word out there and hopefully make everyone feel like there's a place for them in agriculture.
Absolutely. It sounds like a really powerful movement, Ben. Thank you. And Erin, what would you say to someone in farming who hasn't come out yet and is unsure what they should do?
I would say don't be afraid. Like I said earlier about people being genuinely inquisitive, believe that, and don't be afraid to lean on the people you have around you if you're finding it hard, and finding, groups like AgRespect where you can see yourself in. I mean, Ben, you mentioned earlier about the importance of role models. I mean, there's a whole list on AgRespect website of all these role models. So I wouldn't be afraid to reach out to people who have taken that step before, if you're finding it particularly difficult.
There's one thing I'd like to add as well, is that, I've noticed that, I'm getting to that age where a lot of my friends have got kids who are, 16, 17, 18. And so just to everyone in the agriculture community that have got some young kids, just understand, that they might have something that they want to tell you, and to offer a really safe space to allow them to come to you with that and not hold it inside them, because the damage that can do by holding on to it, and the kids are just like looking for, it's like this saying, don't be your kid's first bully. And it's quite sad to see that some of the comments you occasionally see on social media posts, it's like people with, sort of profile pictures of themselves with kids and stuff. It's like, social media can be a mean place. So I think if everyone's just a bit kinder to each other, and just if you have got kids, just be the person that you need them to be.
It's an incredibly powerful message, Ben. To those people who say they respect and accept all those views, but just don't want to hear more about it, can you just reinforce why it does matter?
To people, if the people say like, don't. It's fine. We don't need to see it. Like I know for a fact that there are still people who are struggling with it, and the pride parades or whatever, they're not for straight people to inform them. It's like, yes, we're here. It's like, so that other people can go like, oh, that's like, there's a load of people there who are, and who might be like me, or they might not be like me, but it's just like, I repeat that, it's that visual representation, in a very bold public way. But but pride parades aren't for everyone. And there will be people who would rather just like stay at home on the farm. But the idea that they know that there are other people out there, I think it's such an incredibly powerful thing in itself.
And Erin, just wrap up by explaining why we need to keep shouting about pride.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Ben about it being that public place to feel seen and that representation. And as he says, it's not for everyone. You know, you could apply similar logic to any sort of public display that goes on, but it means so much to people that are part of the community. And for those people who maybe in their personal life don't have that concrete surrounding, it provides a network for them. It makes people feel accepted, and that's really important.
If there's anyone listening to the podcast who would like some more information, where should they find it?
Search on Instagram. We are AgRespect. Google that as well. You find the website. And then drop us a message if you're interested and want to be included in the WhatsApp group. We've got a WhatsApp group. It sort of has sort of sporadic moments of activity on there. But like I said, there'll be discussions about which Pride parades we'll be attending. So AgRespect did Cardiff a couple of weeks ago. Last year we did Bristol. We've done Brighton. We've done Birmingham. So just trying to sort of move around because everyone is spread out over the country. So just trying to get to each little town and city across the country to make sure everyone feels represented.
Ben, Erin, thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers, Luke. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, Luke, we're coming to the end of our last episode for this season. It's been so much fun, don't you think?
It has. It's been a real journey. We've done so many different features across our time on the podcast. Have you got a favourite?
Oh my gosh, you've really put me on the spot there. It would probably have to be Harry Thompson from the Iron and Brass Bed Company. I just loved hearing about what they're doing with wool and how they're using them in mattresses and just helping the sheep industry. How about you, Luke? What was your favourite feature?
I really enjoyed our live podcast recording that we did I think it was our second episode that we did at the live Shed Talks event. We were speaking to a range of panellists, one being yourself. You were wearing two hats in that episode. But I really enjoyed that because we were live at a Shed Talks live event on stage in front of an audience, which was good fun.
Oh, it was brilliant. Yeah, that was a really, really great one. And I suppose moving on, this is, as we said, the last time for this season that we'll be together talking. So what have you got coming up in your life?
It's harvest soon. Being in the combinable crop sector, that tends to be a fairly busy time for me. So we're hoping for a good harvest. We've had some very difficult harvests as farmers across the UK have done for the last few years, and we really are in need of a good harvest. So fingers crossed we get a fairly straightforward summer. How about you? Yeah. You've got some wedding planning to do.
Oh, so much wedding.
Where have you got to?
I've got my dress. I've booked my photographer, videographer, the church. We've had the marquee quote through, which I think we all nearly fainted at.
Yes.
But it's my big day featuring Angus. So, it'll be lovely. We've got a few more bits to plan, but we're still a year out. But in the meantime, we are haymaking, which actually looks to be going okay. We've had quite a good spring, haven't we, with a bit of rain and a bit of heat. So the grass has grown well. Lots of fly strike about, though, for those sheep farmers. Keep a very close eye. I had a case yesterday, so managed to get the wool off and sort that out. Yeah, I've got a litter of puppies at the minute. If anyone needs a new collie, please let me know. And yeah, just enjoying the summer at home, I think. And then hopefully we can kick off again in the autumn.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to being back for the next season of the podcast. Hopefully it's full of as much adventure as we had this time. I think we started the podcast with you not engaged and me without a child. And
I know, and look at us now. And it won't start the podcast with me with a child. I'd just like to point that out.
Not this time. Not this time.
Definitely not.
But before we wrap up, I think we should just thank the team behind us who pull this podcast together, and they make things really easy for us, and it's been great fun being able to host such a great podcast. So thank you to the team who make it happen.
Yeah, the team, and also our guests, and to you, Luke. I am so pleased that we were paired together on that training day when we were plonked in a room, didn't know each other. I think we've done okay.
I think it's worked out well. Well, if anyone wants any more information about what we've spoken about today, then we'll put some information in the show notes. And we will see you all after the summer.
Have a great one, guys, and we'll see you in the autumn.